everybody, welcome back to another episode of our Mystical Wellness podcast. I have a fascinating guest today who truly embodies mystical wellness, and it's Michael Kopf, who is a lifelong paranormal experiencer, Reiki Master, and researcher of the metaphysical and esoteric. And he's investigated hundreds of haunted and historic locations and explores topics such as disclosure, multidimensional travel, and secret space program, and a lot of other things through his podcast, Riding Through the Unknown. And Michael's work bridges the world of paranormal, spirituality, and cosmic awakening. Welcome, Michael. How are you?
I am doing well, thank you.
Yeah, it's really lovely to connect with you because we are so like-minded. It's dead refreshing. Yeah, I'm really
We
excited.
are.
Yeah. Anyone that speaks Star Trek, I just love it. Right? Because I've realized there's hardly anyone around me who does speak Star Trek anymore. So I get quite excited. So yeah. So
Yeah.
just
Trekkies unite.
Yeah, why not? Yeah. So you've got so many different areas that we can go into, and I understand that your first paranormal encounter was like at the age of 2. So do you want to start there? What happened when you were 2 years old?
Sure. So when I was 2, I was living up north, and our house had a basement, the main level, and then an upstairs. And so we were on the upstairs part, and apparently we were remodeling or something for some reason. There was like there was a board over a vent opening, and everybody was working up there. Well, somehow the board over the vent was missing, and I went over to the opening and, being curious what's going on. Well, I'm leaning over the opening, kind of looking, and according to my recollection, next thing is I'm falling into the vent. But when I was talking with someone, they were like, I was actually pulled in. Something grabbed me and brought me into the vent. And so as we're going down the vent, so you can picture it, the vent is going from the second floor past the first floor to a concrete basement. So you can imagine free fall state. You don't have to be a scientist to map out how fast that'll go. But in the process of going down, I start to talk to an entity. And I'm talking to this entity about, what my future is going to look like, what abilities do I need, how am I going to access these abilities, when are they going to be activated, and all of this. And you can imagine this is not a short conversation. So I feel like I was pulled out of time to have this conversation. And I found out from a friend of mine who's a medium, the one that told me about being pulled in, that there was actually two beings, that I was taken from the being that pulled me in and had a conversation with that being instead. And when I come back in, I hit the concrete. And so, with it being wintertime, my mom is like, this is the 70s, late 70s, early 80s. You know what kids looked like from the movies, all dressed up for winter in the north. Yeah, that was me. I was in poofy clothes. And so she thought the poofy clothes kept me from getting hurt. And I stand up and I'm like, just start walking away from this fall. And one day I was looking in the mirror and I had a cut on my like hair missing in my eyebrow. And I said, "What is that?" And they go, "Oh, that happened when you were in the vent at 2. Is you were That's all that happened. You didn't get any broken bones or any bruises, just a cut on your eyebrow."
That's incredible. That's so cool.
It
Wow.
is. And it was funny because when I was telling another person interviewing me about it, I was talking about how cool it was to, be pulled out of time and all of this. And they looked at me and they go, "The cool thing is that you could understand that being." And I was like, I never thought about it.
So what kind of being do you think it was? Was it an ET or a guide?
I think it was well, so I'm of the opinion that some of the ETs are our guides.
Mm,
So I could say both in that aspect. And it was a tall white being that helped me land and be, protected. And I
mm.
found out that ever since I was born, I have a level of protection on me. And it's kind of strange because I've had so many incidents in life that it's like, where was the protection then? But
Yeah.
I haven't had any major things really, like major, so that's probably where the protection comes in, is they keep me alive.
Yeah.
Not the
I'm
not
getting
the many things.
I'm getting memory of, when you fly down the stairs, did you have any of those experiences? Well, I remember flying down the stairs, and both my sisters have had the same kind of experiences. But really, obviously, it was something carrying me down the stairs. Perhaps, I don't know. But like me and my two sisters, and they're older than me, 5 and 7 years older. But we all remember flying down the stairs separately. So yeah.
So funny you mentioned stairs and flying, because when I was in elementary school, or no, middle school actually, there was a two-level polished brick uh stairwell, and this kid pushed me, and I went from the top of the landing to the bottom landing and had to go get my arm put in a cast because I fractured the bone, and the bone fracture stopped right on the edge of my growth plate.
That's so cool. Yeah, so you
Well,
said that
maybe
you
for you, but it wasn't so cool for me being in a cast for
Well,
a
I broke
few.
I broke both my wrists, but I was like in my early 20s. And when you get those trainers that have the wheels on because you think that you're still cool, you're still young
Oh
and
yeah.
cool, you can do it. So I broke both my wrists at the same time. So other than that, I've just had this foot surgery a couple of months ago where they broke through into my foot to fuse my ankle joint, and they put plates and they put staples in. And at the same time, I got tagged by aliens as well, by by a few different ones actually, for some Mars project, and I saw it on the X-ray. Yeah, so it's mad, but it's gone now. We collapsed and dissolved it out anyway. So you grew up in a metaphysical household, and I've never heard anybody say that before. Because I grew up in, like, an Irish Catholic family, so we just didn't talk about these things. But I did, I got my black cat and broom when I was 8 years old and things like that. It was just kind of like, there you go. So what was it like growing up in a metaphysical household? How did that look different to your friends?
Well, I don't know that it looked different to them, but for me it was very different because anything that, like, when something didn't go right, it wasn't as simple as going and saying, "Oh, well, better luck next time." It's, "Well, why didn't that work? What did you do that didn't, what did you do that made it not happen? Or why do you think this happened this way?" And so instead of having in my own way, you know, kind of blowing things off and being like, whatever, and just going on, I was constantly working on myself and viewing it as something that I did, or as part of my learning. And so I was like, and I made the choice. So my mother was born Lutheran, my
Mm.
father was Catholic, so I had the option to do both. I did attend Catholic church, but I don't think I ever took the catechism, but I ended up walking away. And something that was really funny, and you'll probably find this funny, is when you're in church service, they have the announcements and the talk, and then there's the sermon, and then there's singing or no singing, depending on your church. Well, I would be awake for the announcements, and the chit chat kind of aspect. But when it came time for the priest to give his sermon, I would fall deep in sleep.
So did most people.
And when no, but here's the thing, when he finished, I would wake right back up and
Oh,
have no
wow.
idea I slept through it, and nobody could wake me up.
So you guys just kind of switched you off for that. They sent you
Yeah.
someplace else. That's
I asked
awesome.
my guides later in a medium circle,
Hmm.
I said, what was up with, me never hearing a sermon? And they said, we didn't want you to have dogma.
Yeah,
So I slept through all the dogma.
that's really cool. See, I went to, I did Sunday school, so I did my first year of Sunday school. And then I kind of realized that my parents weren't going to church. They wanted to have a quiet house, so they sent their kids out to Sunday school. And then when I realized that, and I thought nobody really notices if I'm here or not, so then I just started to go and play instead. But my sisters were quite religious, but I never really was. And my older brother, I think he said he was an atheist at the time, so I thought that's me. I'm an atheist, yeah. So I've not really got into the dogma or anything at all. I don't follow religions.
Well,
Um,
and church was never for me.
yeah, me
Even
neither.
elementary school age, my parents tell me that this really did happen is I would go up to them and go, so Jesus died on the cross to absolve sin, so there's no more sin in the world. Because something that's abolished, that means it's done. And they were like having to sit there, and they said they had to stop and think about that because they were
Yeah.
like, wait a minute. Yeah, how are we still committing sin if sin was abolished?
Yeah, that's such a good point because it never made sense to me. Father, Son, and Holy Spirit kind of thing. And I don't normally talk about religion, but it just never made sense to me. It just didn't sit well.
Yeah.
I couldn't get my head around it because it just wasn't for me.
I
And
made the
that's okay.
mistake in yeah, I made the mistake in Bible study asking the person that was leading it and my ex-girlfriend at the time because we were all in there together.
Mm.
And I said, if Jesus abolished sin by dying on the cross, and you're telling me I'm still committing sin, that means he died for nothing.
Yes. Oh
And they did
gosh,
not take that kindly.
that's not
I
good.
was politely asked amongst the other topics that I raised,
Yeah.
questions that I raised, to not ever come back to Bible study.
Which was probably good. So, what did you
Yeah,
go into instead when you were thinking about metaphysical studies and magic? Perhaps did you go into magic?
I did actually. I studied a year of paganism when I was growing up. I studied Reiki. I would study tarot cards, gypsy palm reading. That one I didn't
Hmm.
take too well to. There was too
What
many
palm reading?
lines.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I never got into
too many
that.
lines that mean too many things in too many different ways, and
Hmm.
I was just like, yeah, I don't get it.
Did you ever get into
Think
like the Norse pantheon with like runes and Vikings? And I love all of that.
I did study runes, actually. I have a bag of runes with me, the Viking runes.
Yeah, yeah, I love all that. And with like off-world colonies and everything, there's still very much Norse pantheon out there as well, which I just love it. So at the moment I'm working with the goddess Hela, and Hela's like the Helheim underworld kind of goddess, and she's just
She
come
is a
forward recently.
force.
Yeah, yeah. All right, real balance. I do retreats and like an afternoon retreat, and I did laid out a spiral. So we took a descent into Helheim to meet the goddess, and it was such a beautiful experience though. So even though she looks like dead on one side of her face, and then she's beauty on the other side, it was very much about stepping into stillness and allowance. And so we all had such a lovely time. But until like 24 hours before, I had no idea what I was doing for the retreat, and I just had to open up and say, okay, who's coming in? Yeah. So who do you work with? Have you got guides, goddesses, gods that you work with?
Well, according to my genealogy, I am related to Thor and Sif by blood, and so
Oh, love it.
I actually work with Thor and Isis.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't
Even though
do,
ISIS is
yeah.
Egyptian, I
I
still
don't do
work
that much
with
Egyptian, but I found out recently from Ivan Teller because I've kind of avoided it. I don't know why, but I have avoided it. And apparently I said to Ivan Teller, so which Egyptian god am I? You know, my name is Alane Ra. That's come from my soul. Who am I? And he said, well, God or Pharaoh. And I was like, okay, what have you got? King Tut is what he said. Tutankhamun. So I've not explored that. I'm not sure how I feel about that yet.
the Boy
Um,
King.
yeah, who used to have a cane as well. So, well, of course, he
Yep.
had mobility issues. I've got mobility issues right now. So that's something to explore. I'm very solar, so I do, I do resonate with the raw energy. But I even sleep better in the day, right? Which is weird for me. So, because I get a lot of targeting at night. Yeah. So, do you feel like you are from Thor?
I do because I've had so when I was in college, I was one day getting ready to go to class in the morning, and it was a crystal clear sunny day, not a cloud in the sky, and I'm in my bathroom looking in the mirror, and behind the bathroom door is a hallway to a row of closets. So, in other words, painting the picture, I can't see outside. Well, when I look and I splash water on my face and I dry my face and I look up and I'm about to comb my hair, and instead of seeing the iris in my eyes, I saw lightning bolts. And I was like, well, there's no lightning around here. And previously, before I attended that university, I actually almost got expelled from college dealing with electricity. So, what happened was we were doing a lab assignment and we had to connect a circuit and make a circuit work. Well, we put both ends together live and realized we forgot to connect the center. And so I look up and the teacher's not in there. And I go and I say to everyone on my team, go, give me just a second. And they're like, no, we got to undo this. I'm like, no, we don't have time. So I grab both ends and I can feel the charge go up my arm, across my chest, down my arm, and I put them together and complete the circuit. And I look up and the professor is right there in my face and said, if I ever see you do that again, you are being expelled from this university.
Oh wow.
But I was totally fine.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a storm god energy.
And when I flick light switches on, I usually get sparks every once in a while.
Yeah.
So, like, electricity and we get along really well.
Mm. I do like elemental card readings, and I see the storm energies like bringing together all of the elements, and that's who the person's becoming, like a force to be reckoned with. And I love doing readings that way. So you're this force bringing it all together. That's so cool. Yeah.
Oh, I love rainstorms and seeing lightning.
Yeah. You've never been struck by lightning?
Nope,
No.
but
I've
I'm
never
sure
met
I'd
anyone who
probably
has.
walk away from it.
Yeah, probably, probably. That's so cool. I'm trying to get back into my runes and everything now because it's been a while. So, tell us about your traveling because I am a world traveler also. I lived abroad for a really long time. I'm hoping to come to America next year as well. What is your favorite place before we get into your paranormal? What's your favorite place? You could be
Ooh,
anywhere.
that's a tough one. I would say magic wise, I would say my favorite place so far that I've been to has been Egypt.
Hmm.
Because as I walked along the different temples along the Nile, I literally had the sense of the sand I'm stepping on is the same sand that the gods stepped on, the pharaohs stepped on, the priests, all the people. And so it's like you literally feel yourself in their footsteps, seeing what they saw. And yes, the temples are in, worse shape than they probably saw 'em, but you still get the general feeling, and it's like you can feel the awe and wonderment and all the belief of what's going on. And the part that amazed me too is everybody's heard of the hieroglyph of the helicopter and the boat. Well, I actually got to see them in person. They're on a very high ceiling. I don't even think there's a ladder built that'll reach that high. And you would have to move in tons of sand to get up there like they would to carve them. And so, yeah, those are definitely hieroglyphs from ancient times. And it makes me, you know, feel like they had portals where they could see the future, probably. And that's why they carved what they saw, because, I mean, it's too perfect.
Yeah, I agree. Did you feel the Isis energy when you were at the pyramids?
So we actually went to the Temple of Philae, which is Isis's temple, and we got up before the sun was up, which is really hard for me. And took a boat ride to her island temple, and we sat there and watched the sun come up. And I
Mm.
gotta tell you, that is the most inspirational, most serene, calming sunrise I have ever experienced.
Wow.
I mean, it's literally was like magic. I mean, it's like you just felt the magic of the land just washing over, and it's like you just knew everything was going to be okay for that day.
That sounds so cool. I've not been to Egypt yet. I've not done a lot of Europe. Probably done about 4 countries, but I've not been to Egypt. I love Asia. I'm very Asian. I love Thailand. And I lived in India for 10 years or more. So yeah,
I haven't been that far yet.
did you get an activation in the pyramids?
So what happened for me in the pyramids is I'm laying in the sarcophagus,
You're laying
and
in the sarcophagus.
yep,
I didn't realize people were allowed to do that.
we were.
Wow.
And it's the king's chamber, and I had this out of body experience of walking through this mist in this weird land that wasn't like here, but when I think about it now, maybe it was the land when they were there, because Egypt used to be this lush green and now it's desert. And so maybe I was seeing the lush green Egypt that they knew. But I follow these voices, and I see the gods. They don't look like what our textbooks show us they look like, but I knew who they were on sight. So I got to meet Isis, Ra, Sekhmet, Set, all of them. And we're talking, and the first thing I hear out of my mouth is hello. I'm like, how? I'm like, really? That's the greeting we're gonna use for the gods? But I was like, I guess I was in the moment where I was like, I don't know what to say, so I was
Did
just like,
you
hello.
feel just like you, or did you feel like your God self?
I think I would say myself, but with what happened next, I think my God self probably rose up, because I kid you not, the very next sentence out of my mouth is, what are you guys doing? Because do you see what's going on in your land right now? So it's like I'm yelling and challenging the gods.
Yeah, I totally get that kind of energy because one of my alters is quite high authority, and she came through recently of like, what's going on this planet? Like, where's the light army? And things like that.
Yeah.
That's so cool. So what did they say to you?
That's the funny thing is, right after I make that sentence, I feel myself pulled back into my body, and we end, and everybody shares their experiences in the sarcophagus. And this is where it gets trippy. My memory is we leave the king's chamber and exit the pyramid. A friend of mine said, no, we left the king's chamber, went into the queen's chamber. I remember seeing you in the queen's chamber, and then we left. But I have zero memory of ever stepping foot in the queen's chamber.
Wow. Have you ever had a regression done to find out what happened? Or
I haven't done a regression around the Egypt, but I did recently do a regression to meet a few of my alters,
hmm.
and that was a trip. But yeah, and it really makes me,
Hmm.
feel like, the programs, how they erase the memory.
Yeah.
Everybody, can sit there and say, "Oh yeah, there is no complete erasure. That doesn't exist. It's never perfect."
Yeah.
But I then look at going, it seems pretty perfect to me because I've been in a room I have no memory of ever stepping in on a
Yeah.
foreign country. So
Yeah.
yeah, it can be done.
I've been so aggressively mind wiped, and even though people who talk to me every day, and I'll say things and like we spoke about that yesterday, and I'm like, what? Remind me. So it's bad. It's really bad. Yeah. So I get a lot of mind wipes. I think it's the implants are just wiping me out all the time anyway. Never mind like direct energy weapons or whatever. So
Well,
yeah.
actually, I had the joy of one of my alters controls my memory.
Oh, okay, that's an interesting point of view.
So
I've not heard that before. So what do
he
they allow
um
you to remember?
he says how it works is if somebody asks me a question and I can relate to it, he'll unlock the memory of that experience. I
Hmm.
can share it, and then he locks it back away. He goes, "You have so many memories. If we were to allow them all in,
Hmm.
your brain would be overloaded and it wouldn't be healthy for you." So they
Okay.
determine what I will remember and when and how to keep me safe. And I was like, yeah, that sounds pretty good. I'll take it.
Okay. I'm not sure I'd be happy with that, to be honest. I'm like scrambling around for memories, and I do have quite a fair amount of memories these days compared to some people, but I don't have a lot of context of where, how, kind of thing. So a lot of my alters are scientists or geneticists or whatever. So I'm in a lab. So where is the lab? Can you place the lab? No, it's hard. So I'm all over the place. But I do have my super soldier ones as well, and some really random stuff. But I can never quite place. But I've connected into about 27 altars now. Not all of them I'm actively talking to, but I've had some kind of experience with them in some way. So your altar that controls your memories, do you know who they are? Have you got a name on them?
I do, and well, I don't have a full name, but I do have a lineage name, and
Hmm.
it's one that a lot of viewers they'll recognize, but it
Okay.
it is a real name, and it's the name of El,
Oh, okay.
the
Yeah.
House of El.
Right. Like Superman.
Yeah, that's why I was like, yeah, people are gonna be like, yeah, right, that.
Well, no, you know what? Like,
And the
yeah,
funny thing about it is when like when Superman says, in the movie the symbol stands for hope, it's
yeah.
not the letter S.
Mm,
Well, my alter, that's the L, is why I'm constantly talking about hope. He stands for hope. He's the
okay.
energy of hope. And so I've often wondered why, it's like I'm always saying never give up hope. There's
Yeah.
always hope. All my life I've been like that, and now I get it. It's part of me is the embodiment of hope.
Yeah. So how do you feel about the Superman movies? Do you think that's come like as in disclosure? That it's come like the planet Krypton and that kind of thing? Do you think it's come through, filtering through, or is it a story?
I think there's bits and pieces of it that's true and is prophecy or prophetic warnings. Like, you know, I mean, when you look at it, like Krypton was ruled by scientists trying to tap into the core and destroy the planet out of their own egos. Well,
Hmm.
what are we doing? We're
Sounds like
tapping all
Atlantis, to be
kinds of
honest. Yeah.
resources into the planet, and the planet's starting to fight back. And it's like, that could be where we're heading is, destruction of the planet.
Yeah, it
Maybe
is.
not right away. It's probably centuries down the road,
Mm.
but, we got to let her heal herself and, work together with her instead of trying
Yeah.
to force her open to get what we want.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, because it sounds a lot like Atlantis when they were so from the memories that I have of Atlantis and what I when I was training in crystal therapy, we talked about Atlantis and Lemuria, and Atlantis was very technology focused, very head focused, and there was a lot of conflict, whereas Lemurians were very heart centered, very elemental. So it's very different between those two civilizations there. But yeah, it's similar, I guess. But everyone has
It
their own
is.
viewpoint, don't they?
When I was a captain in Atlantis of a ship, were escorted the seven sisters that ruled Atlantis at the time. I was their transport person. And I remember just before the cataclysm that scientists were creating hybrids and everything, and
Mm.
that they were like, the planet rebelled against the hybrids, and that's why Atlantis was destroyed, is because they started messing with the natural order of things, and nature was like, nature is my domain, your domain, don't be crossing into mine. And they
Yeah.
ignored her and started creating like chimeras and
Mm.
hybrid animals, and probably even like super soldiers, even probably. And
Yeah, there were super
it
soldiers that
was
went back in time, definitely as well.
destroyed.
Yeah.
And then I go over to when I was at Lemuria, and they're like, yeah, you were a creator there.
Wow.
And it makes sense because I know, like in the astral realm, I create worlds here and
Mm.
there where I go and just let them do what they want to do.
Do you
I don't.
remember what you're doing when you're dreaming or when you're traveling in the astral? Do you remember that stuff? Because I don't remember.
Sometimes I do, and sometimes I don't. It depends on how soon I get back and how much regeneration I had to do before returning,
Yeah.
because you can get hurt on the astral realm, and so or get stuck in like the shadow realms out there.
Yeah.
So when people talk about wanting to go in the astral realms and just play around, I'm like, yeah, it's fun, but you got to be careful too.
Mm. There's a war going on, definitely in the
Oh yeah.
astral. I know that much. I don't remember much. And I've heard you talk about shadow beings. And earlier in the year, I had a shadow being in my room. And I remember kind of trying to cast it away. But then, like, within 48 hours, I had a session with Jay Skyrunner. And the first thing he said to me was, "You've got a shadow being in your mind." So there's me thinking I'd cast them out my space. But really, it was already too late. They were already in my head. So does that make any sense?
See, I have a mixed feeling about shadow beings, because to me, I see the shadow beings that I've been around are like the balance of light and dark. And to me, that's what I see when I think of a shadow, is there's light in the darkness. That's why I can see it. So it's not purely bad. And I always would play games with them when I was growing up. And because they would appear out of the corner of the eye, like in a door frame or something, while I'm watching TV. And they would start creeping into the room. And if I turn and look to see what they were doing, they would disappear. So I started making this game of how close can I let them get to me before deciding it's time to make them disappear. And so I never ever have felt harm or malevolence from a shadow being, but I do know that there are some malevolent ones out there. I just haven't encountered any. And so I feel like, as in the paranormal world, we can't judge everything based on one occurrence that somebody talks about. And
Mm.
I mean, we can have, it's just like star beings that, from the stars, they have malevolent side that are rogues and the benevolent side.
Yeah.
And so there's both sides to each thing. So we can't just say, oh, all shadow beings are bad or all Palladians are good.
Yeah.
There, you have to use what I call discernment or intuition.
Mm.
And if you're feeling distress or discomfort from it, then yeah, remove it.
Mm.
But if you're feeling like, oh, I'm understanding stuff that I normally wouldn't understand, maybe that's them helping you.
Mm.
So don't get rid of it.
I get messed with by the Zeta Greys. They mess with me all the time. So
Well, that's what they
sometimes they're
do.
good, sometimes they're bad. Apparently, I'm on a ship, like a scientist ship or whatever. But I used to work at a nuclear processing plant, and I started to feel like I had Havana syndrome symptoms. I was like overloaded with radiation. Like they were just dumping more and more radiation on me to see how much I could transmute. And I did. I transmuted it. It was fine. And I've not been in that environment for nearly a year now, but they're still messing with me. The most recent one, and it has been confirmed it was Zetas, was I was about to go to sleep, it's like a week or so, and then my back chakras just blasted open, and they were trying to suck me out of my body, right? And I'm gripping my mattress, like, no, I do not consent. And then, like, the next day, I managed to get back in, but then I thought, I've probably already gone and come back by now, so I don't know what just happened. The next day, it was like it blasted open my crown, I was getting sucked out from. So I was like trying to pull myself and anchor myself back down. So yeah, but Ivan Teller said it was the Zetas, so they're just messing with me. I am very very Zeta. Don't mean to be.
Yeah.
I'm lots of other races as well. I'm very Arcturian and Palladian, Syrian, things like that. But yeah, they're the dominant ones who are messing with me. I think I probably just got too comfortable. So they were saying, okay, you need to put your guard back up, and we're going to give you an activity to make you start doing your protections again and stuff. So, but it was really ferocious. It was like somebody had like switched on a massive vacuum and was sucking me with force out of my body. It was so bad. Yeah, have you ever experienced anything like that?
I haven't, but I also can sense when they're around, and so they tend to leave me alone because
Can you see? Can you see what's around people? Because generally, I've got a galactic consortium around me all the time. I've got my own guards and things like that, but I can't see any of it. And some people can see things. Like sometimes on a video, you'll see me taking my glasses on and off because I'll see that my eyes change on the video and things like that. But I can't see the presences that are around me. I can't
I
always
don't
feel them
see
either.
them, but I
Okay.
can feel and sense that they're around,
Yeah. So this room
and
is
I
probably
can
full.
track their energy,
It's
so I
very
can.
hot in here. It's a lot of dragon energy. Yeah, I love dragons as well. Yeah, it's mad. Have you had kind of any ET encounters when you thought, okay, this is definitely an experience? Anything like that happened to you? Because I've had a couple this year with like I had a white blobby being that overlaid on my body, and I could physically, I was awake. I saw it in my room. And then a couple of days later, I had another being that had no mouth that wanted to telepath and merge into my body.
I don't know, that I could say I've experienced anything like that, but being a paranormal investigator, I now am in a position where my understanding is different from when I started. So when I see apparitions, I now am of the opinion of, did I see an apparition of a spirit or was it an ET? Because I started thinking about this and going, when we go to make first contact, what do? We send a team ahead to scout out what's gonna, who they are that we're about to meet and learn a little bit about them so, we don't do the wrong thing right off the bat. And so I was thinking, how what could an ET do that? Well, when you go into a building and you feel a presence in like a corner that's like a shadow being, you can't see it. I'm like, that could be the perfect way for an ET to go, how would they react to us being here? Because they're seeing our reaction in real time to something different. And so I feel like that's the ETs doing like what we would do, researching before making contact.
Oh, okay.
Who's open, who's not,
Mm,
who's going to run and scream, who's going to fight,
yeah.
who's going to welcome.
Have you seen any? Because some people talk about sigils being placed on humans by ETs or by like other entities. Have you seen anything like that?
I haven't seen it on other people, but I do know I have a mark on my back, and I've thought about getting it actually tattooed in real visual to
What's the mark?
show.
Can you just tell me or not?
So the mark I have that I've seen is it's like a circle, and in one part of the circle is a pyramid,
Okay,
and then there's Viking runes on both sides,
right.
and a little path with water, and
Ah,
there's a wolf print in one corner, and I'm trying to think what was in the right corner, the other corner, but when I looked at it and physically saw it like in this reality, I was like, to me, it's almost like the closest thing I could describe what it was for was if you ever seen the Mortal Kombat movies
I have, but
where
I'm not too sure. Yeah.
they're passing through the gates and when one would fall, it would leave and disappear, and they said that was the pass.
Okay.
That was like a crest that gave them permission to pass through.
I see.
I feel like that's what that sigil is for me, is
So
it's a
it's not like a
crest.
branding. It's like a key.
Yeah, it's like a crest that allows
Yeah.
me access to other dimensions and other
Yeah.
realms.
That's interesting. Because somebody said that when we get tattoos done, it's literally like markings that we've had on other aspects of us. And because I've got 3 tattoos now, and I mean, what this one you can't really see. This one is a scorpion that I got recently to honor a scorpion entity that I kind of got awarded after a battle. And then this one is the Unalom, which after I had a big breakup and I was kind of like free. It's like life's journey. And then this one is if you can see that, it's the Syrian seal that Patricia Corey channeled. So it's like a galactic shield. So
Oh, I know what the other symbol was. It
what
just
was it?
popped in my head.
Yeah.
Was the Irish triqueta.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I'm probably going to get something here as well that's similar to my Syrian shield. So I was doing an interview with somebody, and I was getting attacked because the person was an empowered individual with their own targeting team, and I started to get loads of targeting come in, and I had two friends who were like running sentinel interference, but the scorpion was an entity that had been bound by the bad guys and was being sent to target me. And my arms are getting completely fried. And this was a few months ago. I was getting microwaved inside out. There was a fire venom running through my arms and everything. And I carried on the interview, as you do, as much as you can. And then Sean Bond was doing a call-in show. So I phoned in and I was like, dude, something's happened. And he tracked it back to a handler in Montauk who was harnessing a scorpion entity against its will to target me. And Sean literally just went, nope. And he took the scorpion and awarded it to me. And then it came and nestled into my back like a baby. And it stayed in my back for like 6 weeks, and then now it's a lot bigger and I've got a tail that I can bring out. So I got the tattoo last month or so that it's got somewhere to be, but it lets me know where it is because it burns me slightly sometimes. So it was burning me yesterday, trying to alert me that there was loads of targeting coming in. So it's like, and I can do lots of things with it. It's mad. I'll talk to you about it after. But so I awarded that, and it was kind of like taking it from the bad guys who they've been freezing it as punishment. They've been freezing this scorpion entity. So when it came to me, of course, it's like, you're loving it, you're nurturing it, please stay with me and I'll take good care of you kind of energy. But Sean Bond awarded it to me like spoils of war because I've been through that whole drama. The guest was fine, by the way. The guest was absolutely fine because I set things up so if anything got sent to her, it get redirected towards me, and it was supposed to get captured in obsidian plates, and it never. I literally was just getting tons of targeting, and there was a ship over my house as well. So there's a few videos about that, but that was a few months ago. So yeah, so
Yeah.
I got the tattoo to honor so the scorpion would have a place to go and within me etherically. But there's probably versions of me that have loads of tattoos, and I'm just starting to tune into that energy now. So that's mad. Do you watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer? Because it keeps popping into my mind a particular episode.
I have watched it, yeah.
Do you know the Hush episode with the silent men?
It's been a while since I've seen them. I've seen all the episodes, but I
Oh,
don't.
we'll have to, because there's that one where they all lose their voice, and then there's this
Oh,
four
yeah.
guys going around stealing everyone's voice. For some reason, that when we were talking about Shadow, that's the episode that kept popping into my mind for us to talk about. But it's like the scariest episode ever, and I'm such a wuss with this kind of stuff. I am like, yeah. So have you ever seen anything like that that would like take people's voice or whatever?
I don't know that I've seen something that would take someone's voice, but I have come across the vampires that are draining people and dealt with them. And
Do they look like actual vampires?
no, actually, they kind of somewhat, sometimes they can look human, and other times they just look like a hooded figure that's just
So what are they
absorbing
draining? Are they
and
draining blood or are they draining loosh, like energy?
both,
Oh,
draining everything.
are they human?
Sometimes and sometimes not. But what I found, there's two ways to deal with them. It depends on how advanced their connection is. Like, because I do Reiki, I can see chords
Hmm.
or meridian strings. And so if I see the string from them to that person, I can cut it, and that pretty much sends
Yeah.
them into a mad frenzy, and they pretty much destroy
That's
themselves.
that's not a Reiki ability, That's your natural ability. That's nothing to do with Reiki. Regular people can't
Well,
see that.
I learned I had it when I was learning Reiki, so I attribute it to that.
No, no, that's one of your abilities. Because I'm a Reiki
But
Master teacher, and people generally don't see that. You can visualize it, but that's one of your abilities, one of your psionic abilities. So that's kind of cool.
and the other is, I just dispatch them a certain way, and I won't say how that is because I don't want people
Yeah.
starting to think, oh, I can do that. And
Mm.
one, it's not who they think it is,
Yeah.
or two, they don't have the right equipment to do it. They just assume
Yeah.
they do. And so I don't want to put anybody in harm's way,
Mm.
but it is something that's taught. And I think that comes from one of my altars taught me how to do it. And
Yeah.
it's a unique altar. And I kind of, now that I think about it, have an experience similar to your scorpion is from the MyLab programs. I had a werewolf altar created,
That's
and I asked the altar, all the werewolf myths and legends and lore.
yeah.
Was that us getting caught doing what we were doing in the past for the programs? And they said yes.
So
So we created.
do they look like a proper wolf man or something else? Some kind of
When I do
chimera?
it, I can take the form of a full wolf on two legs walking, or I can have like human arms, human legs, human chest, but my head is more wolf like featured. I
Wow.
mean, I don't have the snout,
Yeah.
but it's like you could see that, yeah, it's not totally human, but it's not
Yeah.
totally wolf. I guess you could say hybrid mode
Yeah.
is what it
That's cool.
is.
I was at an event recently, and there's a guy that I sometimes see, and I only see him at Mind Body Spirit fairs. And he always makes a fast beeline towards me so we can talk galactic. And he said that he'd heard recently that there was bulletproof werewolves being dropped into the Tennessee forest mountains and all that. And it was some kind of government experiment, right? And there's some kind of factory where they're being made, some kind of lab or something, and then they're being dropped off into the woodland and just being monitored to see how they fare. And does that make any sense?
I, it kind of does because my werewolf, that's where I get some of my regeneration abilities from. And so, like, I can cut my hand, and within a day or two, you wouldn't even know I had cut my hand, even though from the pictures, you're like, that's a pretty bad cut. But my body would heal itself up and regenerate quickly, depending
Yeah.
on where my energy levels are.
Mm.
And so I would say, am I bulletproof? I haven't put it to the
We're
test,
not going to test that.
but
That's not
I
an
would
accusation.
imagine
Yeah.
it would take quite a few bullets to drop
Mm.
a werewolf. And so
Yeah.
is it going to be like they showing like anime and other movies where the bullets pop out of the body? I don't know,
Mm.
or
That's
it
pretty
could just
weird.
be that it heals up and it just stays in the body and
Yeah.
eventually is disintegrated or,
Mm.
utilized in some way, maybe.
Have you
But
encountered any other kind of cryptids on your investigations?
I have encountered wendigos, and
What that is, because I'm not too sure. I've got an image in my mind, but I think it's too scary for me.
a wendigo, from my understanding, because I didn't see it in full form, but I could hear it, is
Mm.
it's like a creature that walks on two legs, very thin, very fast, has kind of like fangs and dark eyes and pointy ears and a face like an animal, but I'm not quite sure what animal closely relates to. But they travel in packs. But when they're out, like watching the prey, following their prey, they'll do it in singles. They'll be spaced out like we would call it like reconnaissance, where you have one guy at one point, and then when the road turns, you have another guy to pick up the viewing there, and so on. Well, they're the same way. They have one watches for a certain amount of time, and then another one starts and they move to another location. So you're constantly being followed, but it's from a distance until they're ready to strike. Then it's like you feel the pack mentality coming. And I was walking in a forest and I could feel them around. And there was one point where there was a path that went to the left and one that went to the right. And I looked to the left and I was like about to take a step and decided not to. And my friend that was with me goes, "Oh, you don't want to go that way. That's where a lot of Wendigos hang out and live and that's their nesting area." I was like, "Yeah, I know. That's why we're going this way." And we ended up going that way. And I know this isn't cryptid related, but you're going to find this really cool. Is when I turned the corner and I looked up to the sky because I felt like I was in a different world, even though I was in a forest. I look up and the moon that was off to my left is now directly over me. And to the left of the moon is the Orion constellation.
Oh.
To the right of the moon is Orion constellation. There's
Whoa.
two constellations mirroring each other in the sky. And I started noticing there were other, and I was like, and I looked at my friend and I go, "Are we in a mirror realm?" And he goes, "Yes, we are."
Oh no.
And the thing that people, growing up metaphysical, I have awareness of how to act in certain scenarios. And so I knew being in a mirror world, keep your emotions in check because whatever you're feeling or thinking is going to appear in front of you. It's like the Star
Ooh.
Wars, going into the cave on Dagobah, whatever you take with you is going to go and manifest.
Yeah.
And so I was being very calm and just aware of my surroundings. And there was actually a house where people dwelled that was in really bad shape. But I was like, man, could you imagine living in a mirror realm, with a family, how much pressure that would be and,
Wow.
what that would look like. But
I was thinking
the
about the
thing,
boggart in Harry Potter. When you're looking at the boggart and it shows your deepest fear, that's what else
yeah,
popped into my mind. I don't know what that would be, but like clowns, like yeah,
but Harry Potter would have loved this forest
yeah.
because there were certain spots in this forest where in the dark you would see these pathways and you could walk through them, and as soon as you got to the other side, when someone turned a light on, there was no path.
Wow.
There were branches across. There was like no way across. It was like thick debris. And when they turn the light off, they disappear. And the really trippy thing, even, is when you step on where those branches and the debris should be, there's no sound. You're not stepping on anything.
Yeah.
And nothing like tugs at your clothes. Like when you know how when you brush against a point of a branch, how your pant leg or your shorts like
Mm.
kind of pulls. There was
Yeah.
none of that.
You
But
know, sorry, Stranger Things? I couldn't really
yes,
watch it. And there's a mirror world in that, isn't there?
there is.
Yeah, I couldn't watch it. And I don't know if it's because it's based on the projects or whatever. I think I watched maybe
I
one
couldn't watch it
episode.
either.
You couldn't watch it either. Oh, thank God. Thank God it's not just me. Because I Yeah, it was too much, but I do remember seeing that she was in that dark place and it was like everything was blustery and that was some kind of mirror world. So how would you know, like, what's that point where you're stepping into that mirror world? Is there a sign that you're in it that you can stop and recognize?
The energy feels very, it's like you could tell when you cross dimensional lines because the energy, like, it can be very cold in one aspect and then all
Mm.
suddenly be very hot, even though you're still outside in the same area. Or when it was hot, it could be a little bit warmer or a little cooler. There's just little subtle changes. And one that I like to look for is like there could be a breeze, and then you step over a line and there's no more breeze.
Wow.
It's like nature doesn't just follow a straight line,
Mm.
something is causing that. And so, and my friend, the way he was putting it is there are different groups of tribes that lived in each one of these realms, and there was more than the two realms that I experienced in this one night. And another reason why I know I was in a dimensional forest is because it was like 11:30 at night when we walked into the forest, and when we came out, I mean, we were in there, I literally could tell you like maybe an hour and a half. It was almost 3 a.m. when we came out. And there was no sense on the body of being that long, standing, walking. How you start getting tired from
Yeah.
all of that. It didn't happen. It was like I
So
was hardly there.
how often are you going out into the woods in the middle of the night? Because when we phoned recently and you're just like on some kind of random investigation somewhere in the woods in the dark, right? How often do you do that?
Not that often, actually. Now, with doing podcasting and writing, I don't have time to go out as often. And so this forest was because I was on a road trip visiting a friend and he wanted me to experience it. And this is a forest that I've agreed not to share the location to because if you go in there and you're not mentally prepared, there's a really good chance that you could end up in a psych hospital with all that's going on around because there are what do you call them? The my mind is going blank. The shapeshifters, that's what it is. And what I mean by that is we would see people walking, and as we got closer to where they were, we would see them jump to a spot, and when you would approach the spot, it looked like it was a post in the ground of where a gate used to be or a trash can on a stick. And I'm like, those things don't move.
Oh,
But literally something was moving up to it and there's nothing there.
so what were they? Were they transforming into something that was not like animated, or were they just
Right.
gone?
They would
That's really unusual.
transform into the inanimate objects and just,
Wow.
you know, be like, okay, we're here. And then when you would walk by, you could see them sometimes run back off to somewhere else or follow
Wow.
you. And the part that really set me into knowing I was going to be in a
Hmm.
dimensional forest was the bridge when we started. It's a moon. You could see the moon,
Yeah.
not many clouds in the sky, and the bridge is lit up by clouds. To the left, there is total darkness, and to the right is total darkness. When we came out, I could see the water running on one side, and on the other side, perfectly still.
Wow.
I mean, like, it looked like a sheet of glass was laid over this water in this creek. And I mean, I could audibly hear the water now running. I couldn't hear it when we started.
Mm.
And I could hear it going under the bridge. And in my mind, I'm like, I'm not a scientist, I'm not an engineer, but I've been around a lot of, I've been, I grew up with an engineer as a father, so I paid attention to a few things.
Mm.
Water follows its course.
Yeah.
So, water, if it's running into one side of a bridge, is going to run out the other side. There's nothing under a bridge that would stop it.
Mm.
Otherwise, there'd be no water on that side of the bridge.
Yeah.
But they're standing still water. And so I'm like, what in the world can take running water, stop it,
Yeah.
and still appear on the other side?
Is it time displacement?
I can't answer that. I have no
Mm.
explanation to how what I seen happen, because I mean, I'm still trying to wrap my head around the moon was above the bridge when we started, and it was
Yeah.
pitch black on both sides and no sound. And the moon is not overhead when I leave, and I can see everything.
Wow.
Like, that
Super
doesn't make
creepy.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's late at night here. So, and I'm easily spooked. Tell us about your awakening books.
Okay, so
What made you write the books? Start there.
I wrote the books because I was told growing up that I should write a book by a lot of people over my experiences and everything. And I was like, nobody's gonna read, my story. It's not that interesting. I lived through it, but I was like, I don't know that anybody'd want to pick up this book and read it. And then I was like, a couple of years ago, I was like, somebody goes, well, you have a book in you. You should write it. And I was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then I interviewed the grandson of a famous couple in the paranormal field. And I was like, you just wrote a book. And he goes, yeah. I said, what was it like? Because I don't want to drudge up all this, bad energy, that I spent all this time clearing to write it. And he goes, actually, it's very cathartic. You don't actually get emotional putting it on the words onto the page. It's actually very healing. And so I was like, okay. So then I sat down and started writing, and before I knew it, I had like 13 or 15 chapters in a book. And then I started looking at it and going, well, what if the paranormal people don't want to read about the metaphysical? And what if the metaphysical don't want to read about my hidden journey into the SSP world? And what if all three of these have no care whatsoever what it was like for me to grow up? I'm forcing these people to read all these different aspects of me. And so I decided to pull them into four different books. And I was like, I can make
Okay.
four books out of this. Because, like, the paranormal book, I was like, that chapter was, I think, like 120 some pages. And I was
Mm.
like, that's a book.
Yeah,
That's not
right.
a chapter, that's a book. And so I didn't put any pictures in that book because I felt like, with it being paranormal, if I was to put a picture of, say, Magnolia Inn Hotel or an asylum that I went to, people would be writing and saying, commenting, hey, you're using my photo. Because let's be honest, we all have photos of that look almost identical. So how would you prove it? So I was like, I don't want to get into arguments over whose photo did I use. So I didn't put any, but the way I wrote it is your mind will paint the picture for you. And that was my hope. And I've actually had people message me saying that they read my paranormal book and they were like, I could actually feel and see all your experiences unfolding through your words. And I was like, oh, good, it worked. And so the paranormal is book I entitled Awakening, um, My Journey into the Paranormal. Now, the funny thing about the title is I gave the book to a friend of mine, Selena Ingles, and she was going to do cover for me. And she was like, hey, do you want me to edit? So I was like, yeah, go, that'd be awesome. And when she finished editing, she was like, hey, I'm done with the cover, but you don't really have a title, do you? I was like, no, I have no idea. And she goes, let me toy around with it. And so then she sends me a picture of a rough draft of a cover, and it says Awakening, My Journey into. And I was like, oh, I love that title because Awakening, I can use that in the other 4 books.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is perfect. So, yeah, the title is due to the awesome work of Selena.
Hmm.
And what I did with the paranormal book is I gave all my experiences to current, and I share what impact certain experiences had on me that had more impact than others. And so they're kind of a longer chapter, a longer part of the book.
Yeah.
And I don't use page numbers and I don't use titles of chapters because to me it was a journey. It just unfolded. And so I want the reader to
Hmm.
unfold with it.
Because
And at the
it.
end of the paranormal experiences, I share my journey into podcasting, where the
Hmm.
origin story of my paranormal show, The Energy That Surrounds Us, and I co host Paranormal Verses with Cal Ridley, and E is co hosting with us this season. And so I share the origin story of Paranormal Verses in there because I felt like I can't tell my paranormal journey without including the podcast because that is my current journey. So this book will take you from my beginning to
Hmm.
current.
So
And
book one, because it's available on Amazon, there's a review on there already. Did you know that?
yes, there's
Yeah,
two,
and
I
it
believe.
okay. Well, there's one that I can see, and it says, "This is a wonderful book, very intriguing with wonderful knowledge. It's a fantastic read." So yeah, very, and it's available in Kindle and hardback
And paperback.
and paperback. Yeah, it looks great, and the artwork looks good. And Selena's so talented. Um, and
She
she's
is.
yeah.
And then there was book 2, which has a funny, so the funny story behind book 1 is the cover is a little bit different because I couldn't get the cover like we wanted it on Amazon. I had to go through their parameters, so I picked the one that I thought was closest to. And so the cover we were like, we'll just make do with on this one. It's our first book. We'll figure it out as we go. So then that was published in September. In October, I launched my SSP book, which is Awakening My Journey into the Hidden Discoveries. And that is my 3-year journey into my work in the SSP.
I didn't realize that was an SSP book. Okay.
Well, it is, and it's my journey into understanding what is the SSP and what programs, do I know I was in, if I know,
Yeah.
and how I know. And so, like, I'll share
Mm.
memories and experiences that I've had. And Erica Amarina actually helped me with some of the experiences that I wasn't total clarity on, but
Mm.
we would be talking and she'd be like, "So was it this?" And I was like, "Yeah." "And you were a part of this?" "Yeah, I have memory of like the AI war, electric wars." I tell her, "Yeah, I have memory of that." And she's like, "Yeah, this is the part you're missing." And so
Yeah.
she kind of collaborated on that, but it's mainly my story. And I
Mm.
don't include a lot of scenarios where, like, if somebody was doing a reading for me and they're like, "Oh, you're in this project, you're in that project." I
Yeah.
don't list them unless I have a memory or an experience to tie to it.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is one experience that I share in there
Mm.
is walking on the hull of a ship in space, walking towards a Stargate. And I have a black suit on, no gloves, no helmet, in space. The earth is behind me, and I'm like, all of a sudden I reach this spot on the hull, and I just reach my hand out, and every ship that's come through the Stargate or portal disappears and goes to another dimension or another location. And I shut down the gate so that whoever's coming through, sorry, you're not entering here. You weren't supposed to be here to begin with, so we cut it off. And then I go back into the ship and I'm like, "Hey, how's everything going?" They're like, "Okay, everything's good. It's shut down. Area
Mm.
secured." And then I'm like, my next memory is going straight down to earth, back into human form,
Mm.
and going about my day. And
Yeah. That's so
when I
good
was,
that you've got such detailed memory on that, because a lot of my stuff is very fragmented or compartmentalized. And I've been told it's a particular project, but it's different to other people's. And so I'm still on my journey
yeah,
of kind of reconciling all these bits of information and trying to confirm. Yeah, I don't have
yeah,
like long memories like that. I've only got fragments at the moment.
and somebody mentioned to me, that they think I was in Solar Warden, and I was
Mm.
like, I don't know. And I bring up Solar Warden in the book because they're like the cosmic police. And
Yeah,
I go, "Well, what was I doing on the hull? I was policing the space. So maybe
right.
that's a Solar
Okay.
Warden memory." And so and I mentioned in the book, I'm like, "I'm not saying this is Solar Warden, but it sure does sound like Solar Warden. So
Right. Okay.
maybe it is." And
Yeah.
I have other memories that I share. And I picked, because there's so many books on the SSP. So I picked like the main, like, one article that had like 7 different programs, and I was like, "Here's your
Mm.
main programs, like MK Ultra and others." And I'm like, "This is what they say about them."
Yeah.
Just so you have an idea in the beginning of when I say this program, you're like, "Oh, he mentioned that earlier. Okay, I know what he's talking about." You're not sitting there trying to figure out,
Yeah.
"I've never heard this term. What in the world are you talking
Mm.
about?" So I kind of gave a basis. So as I ventured
Yeah.
on, it would make more sense
Mm. Do you
to
feel like
somebody who has no awareness.
you're still actively in service now off planet?
Well, I think it's a little 50-50, honestly, because I feel like I've gotten my freedom from a lot of it,
Mm.
but I do still feel like every once in a while I get pulled in to doing something.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I do, and this is another Superman moment, but
For me, it's
when I'm on the
Captain Marvel moments for me.
Well, when I'm on when the astral realms doing stuff, I can hear when friends need help or like my twin needs help with something. I can hear it and I know how to get there so fast. It's like before they even say the phrase "I need help" or my name out loud, I'm standing in front of them and I make one, I have two entrances that I usually make that a lot of people are like, yeah, we've seen this. Is like if they're in a cave, I look at who are they with, who's behind them, and I'm like, what kind of entrance can I make to have the biggest impact? And so if I feel like the people they're with won't will freak out if I come one way, I'll just instantly appear right in front of them in the middle and look at my friend that called me or that I sensed needed help, and I'm like, "What's going on? What do you need help with?" And I kind of turn and look over my shoulder at him and being like, giving him the look of, "I'm talking. Don't interrupt me right now." And then when they say, "Oh, I'm trying to do this or that," I'm like, "Oh, and they won't let you." And I will turn, and in a flash of a second, I have all their weapons in my hands, and I just like break them apart.
Wow.
And I'm like, you guys have two choices. One, you can turn around and walk away, or two, we're going to do this the hard way. And some of them will like start to come at me, and I drop them all. And the others are like, okay, we're out. And I will stay, help them get to their transport out, and
Mm.
they leave. Now, the other entrance I like, this is where I said Superman comes in. It's also, I kind of will say half Superman, half Neo from the Matrix.
Oh, cool.
Is so if they're in a cave
Mm.
and they're they're charging them. I will pummel my way through energetically through the rock of this cave, slam the ground, stand up, kind of go like this, and be like, "What's up? What do you need?" And they all will inevitably be like this on the other side, going, "Wait, where did that guy come from? He literally just came through the rock
Yeah, that's awesome.
and just brushed it off after
Mm.
slamming the ground, and there is a little impact divot in the ground." And I'm standing unharmed, and they're like, "What?" And I will turn and I will drop them all in a second, and then go back and be like, "Hey, are you okay?" Because I'm like, I know the second that they snap back in, they're going to be charging again. So I'm like, drop them now.
Yeah.
I can talk. We have a few moments because it's going to take them a while to wake up from being stunned. And what I normally do at
Mm.
that point is when they, wake up from being stunned and they start charging again, is I'll use psionics and just hold my hand up and totally displace them to somewhere else in the base or
Oh,
to
wow.
another universe. And I'm like, y'all have at it. They're your problem now. They ain't here. And I'll
Yeah.
go and help them get to where they need to go to complete their mission. But yeah, I literally will then go right back to what I was doing. And
Mm.
so I'm like, I don't know many other people who are in the programs that will choose to help other people in the programs.
Um, I don't know about that. I think there is, I mean, there's light and dark to all of us. I've got a lot of different versions because I'm like a Echo clone template. So I've got like a whole chain, lots of versions of me. But yeah, but it's nice that you're doing that. Do you have a Nachtwaffen version of you that you recall in the Dark Fleet?
I do actually, and I found out about it by doing a soul fragment retrieval with Stephen Popiotek.
Oh,
And I was retrieving my files and my soul shards, and I wiped the computer and destroyed all record of me, but I noticed I had a uniform that had a device on it for infiltration
Yeah.
and intelligence gathering, and I was like, yeah, I was an intelligence officer. I was a trainer
Okay.
for doing infiltration. So I took components, that controlled that with the suit off the suit and then destroyed the suit
Oh, that's pretty
and
cool.
came back to the light fleet and said, here, reverse engineer these
Yeah.
and give me the first five that work and are free of the dark elements. And I gave those to friends of mine that I work with on the other side that
Nice.
I know are doing good work like I'm doing. And so they're able to, what it does is the infiltration patch activates when, like, say you're on a Draco reptilian base
Mm.
and a Draco walks up to you, you will appear as a Draco.
Oh, nice.
And the intelligence chip that's
Yeah.
attached to it will allow you to communicate and think like and respond like a Draco. So they have no idea who you are.
Yeah. Where would that
And
technology have come from?
the dark side uses it all the time to infiltrate and
Right.
spy. And so I just was like, hey, fair game. If you're going to do
Yeah.
it, we're going to do it back. And I took it and I figured it's my uniform, it's my gear. I
Yeah.
have total rights to this tech.
Okay.
It's my tech that I use. So
Do
I
you,
had no problem feeling like I was stealing it from them. I just felt like I was taking what was mine with me.
yeah. Do you ever remember versions of you who were scientists in any way? Because there's not that many male scientists that people remember. It seems to be more female. I have a lot of scientist versions of me, like geneticists and really dodgy ones, to be honest.
I wouldn't say scientist, but I've worked with scientists.
Mm,
I know I have, and I didn't put it in the book because I don't have full recall on it or an experience with it, but it resonates with me. So, but not enough that I put it in the book, but I'll share it with you and see what
mm,
you think.
okay.
I had a altar where I would travel through time, and there were presidents and government officials that were in charge of this project, and I was in like a lab somewhere, I think on the moon or something, and I would walk into the room, and if I when I stepped on the pad, I would instantly be put into clothing time appropriate, and my audio would be altered to match whatever language of where I was going. And I would go into a world or an event in history, watch what was happening, report back if that was my mission, or if my mission was to do something, like I would, like one mission I was told about that I feel is tied to this is going to Antarctica and putting on a Nazi uniform, going to 1940s bunker and stopping the assassination and pulling him out and going to Argentina. And so when people say, "Oh, they seen him in Argentina," I was like, "Yeah, I knew that was possible."
Yeah.
But I was sitting there and going to myself, going, "Why on earth would I do that? Stop, the bomb from doing its thing."
Mm,
And they were like, "Oh, it wasn't you. It was your altar."
yeah.
who was controlled and told to do this, so they do what they're told.
Exactly. There's always orders. You don't get to choose, and you don't know the full extent of the mission of what you're doing anyway. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. Did you have like an emotion attached to it, or you're just very cold and focused?
When I heard about it, and the first time I heard about it, I was like live on screen, and I was like, no, I don't want to be the guy that did that. I was like, because it's
Yeah,
like, man, I started feeling guilty of all the stuff that came after that,
right.
going, that's on me because I did this.
Not really
And
though, if you're following orders and if you're in an altered state, yeah, you
well,
just,
yeah, but
yeah,
still, I later,
yeah,
realized that and was like okay with, that it was an event, and yeah, I
mm,
could emotionally discharge it. But at first, it's like I'm sitting here thinking, this altar is me. This is
yeah,
me doing it. It's my consciousness.
right,
Oh
yeah,
my God. And taking
mm,
and being like, I'm responsible for this, even though
okay,
I wasn't.
yeah,
And so, yeah, it
that's
took me a while
tricky.
to learn that.
Yeah. So I've got suppressed emotions because my powers are emotional based. So I don't have the same kind of guilt and things like that. I just don't have it. Sometimes, but not anything related to service work. No, nothing.
Well,
Because
now, yeah,
yeah,
now when I hear an altar did something, I'm like, yeah, if I remember something, I'm like, that wasn't me. But
yeah,
what I do instead is now is I look at it and go, what from this altar can I use? And I try
yeah,
to learn and bring into this reality
mm,
aspects of that altar
yeah,
to help me do what I'm doing here.
yeah. That makes sense. That makes sense. So a lot of mine have been, there's not that many good ones of mine that have come forward. I'm starting to get to the good ones. But first I had to experience the really dark ones. And
Well,
yeah, get
what's
like a snapshot of that, like me holding a severed arm and things like that, and just being so like zoned out of let's do this work and with no emotions attached. That's what I had to experience earlier on in the year. And I'm comfortable with it. There's a lot of cloning and augmentation and chimera building and stuff in my list of altars. Yeah.
well, I think my experience might be slightly different because when I was working with Steven, he pointed out I volunteered. I
Right.
wasn't taken against my will. I actually agreed to do it. So I think my,
Mm,
like, training was different. Like, I don't think I was
possibly.
maybe put in, I might have been in Montauk, but maybe not put through the chair to break me, is because I was like,
Yeah.
I'm volunteering. So they're like, we don't need to break him. He's
Hmm.
already
I don't know about that.
lined
I'm
up.
not sure how I feel about that, but I know I was, I was also in Montauk, even though I'm British. I've explored that with Sean Bond as well, and we did a live vision quest on his channel. And surprisingly, it was Montauk memories that were accessed and publicly
Yeah.
as well, which was very uncomfortable. And but I did get like a keystone memory come in of like a place nearby me, which is a shipping yard, and I saw how they took me, and it was through like a temporary portal that they'd set up in a shipping container. So it's absolutely bonkers. So I mean I don't explore, I don't go deeper into that one because I'm trying to focus on other things. At the moment I'm trying to focus on the off-world colonies where there are versions of me that are spies
Yeah.
rather than versions of me who are just psycho scientists and stuff like
So
that. So yeah, it's different
for
things
me,
kicking in.
the only memory I have of Montauk is hearing the name Montauk in a room that
Mm,
had no color. It was like a pale green and no art or no symbols on walls or anything. It was just sterile, everything, almost like a lab room.
okay.
But I feel like it was underground or
Yeah.
underwater, maybe.
Mm,
But I had an experience where these two ladies, it's a paranormal team, were actually at Camp Hero live doing, a quote investigation during the day. And I had no idea where they were. And I started looking, and they're like, oh, look, there's a hole in the wall. We should totally go in. And I was like, what do you mean there's a hole in the fence? Are you sure? And I was like, I started getting unnerved where they were. And I was like, you shouldn't be there. Don't go in. And then they hit the cistern, like covered well area. I was like, oh, you don't want to go in there. Don't go in there. And then they show the building on top of the hill. I'm like, there's a gate nearby there, but seriously, do not go near that building. You're at Camp Hero. Do not. You need to leave there now. This is Black Ops. This
Yeah.
is not a place you want to get caught in.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, chill out, chill out. It's okay. We're okay. And we did see a guy drive by that was staring at us, and we thought it was strange. I'm like, yeah, they're documenting you being there. You
Yeah.
have a possibility of being taken later.
Yeah. Those
Don't
projects are
mess
still
around there.
ongoing in their own time bubble and things like that. It's really gross. Oh, that's mad.
But
Anyway,
I apologized to him later and said, there's a reason why I was freaking out. And I'm
yeah.
sorry, I didn't mean to freak out on your live. And she was like, it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
But
not
I was
good.
like, yeah, that was like, there was no signs that said where they were. I was like, you guys are at Camp Hero. And
Yeah.
it was strange that I knew where they were
Mm. Not
because I've
strange for
never
you because
been
you're
there.
very psychic. Yeah, very psychic. So what's next for you? You're still working on some other books, are you? Some metaphysical books?
So I finished typing and writing the metaphysical book yesterday, and I did two illustrations for the book that I
Mm.
hope help visualize what I'm talking about and everything. And Selena is editing the book right now, and then I'll make the corrections. So hopefully around Saturday or Sunday it'll get published.
Wow, that's really fast.
But she did some really cool illustrations too, and so I'm gonna be, once I edit it, inserting in the images. And so
Mm.
this book is basically a journey of what principles I've learned of the metaphysics and how they relate to me,
Mm.
and what my journey into the metaphysical world looked like, and what it was like for me growing up.
Okay.
And so there's a lot of interesting information in there, and I hope people find it helpful.
Yeah.
And some of it is like really hard to believe happened, but they
Mm.
did, because I don't share anything that wasn't mine to experience.
Yeah. So who's the
And
ideal audience for that book? Who should buy the book?
anybody who is looking at the world and saying what's working in the world is no longer working, and I don't know why.
Mm.
Because there are so many things in this book that will help people, I think, in opening their eyes to, we're not limited in what we can do to help ourselves, that there are other options out there.
Yeah.
And so I kind of go into a few that I found and stumbled on, and why I stumbled on them. And so
Mm.
that's the book for this month. And next month is kind of like my story of just me. What was my life like growing up? What did I
Mm.
experience, aside from paranormal, aside
Yeah.
from the SSP work and metaphysical work? What was, who am I aside from that? And so that's what this last book is. The fourth book is just my personal
Mm.
awakening of discovering me. And I share in that book stories of like and some ancestry stories, some of my travels because I've traveled to a lot of places actually. So
Yeah.
I've been blessed with that, and it's kind of like you've gone through these three journeys, so this is like the relaxation book. There's no traumas, there's no, all of that, all the family drama I didn't add it because I was like, I want this book to be uplifting. I'm uplifted. I'm not the same person I was going through all of this, and so I don't want to rehash all that because, in my opinion, I've had 40 years of sharing that story, and I'm kind of getting tired of that story. It's no longer fitting. So I'm like, I'll only share for context.
Hmm.
And I've done that throughout the books is I don't bring any drama into the books except for context.
That sounds amazing. So this has been so good. Thank you so much. Let everybody know how they can find you and when your podcasts are on, because you've got more than one podcast. It's a bit confusing for me. And
I do
you've got like a
actually.
schedule
So
and everything. I've just got this one. I put everything in there, just throw it all in. Yeah, and you've got this great schedule. So let everybody know. Yeah.
yeah, so Tuesday nights at 9 o'clock Central Time, I do the energy that surrounds us, which is my paranormal show. And if it's not at 9 o'clock, it'll definitely be on Tuesday, unless there's a special reason, in which case I'll call it out as a special episode. But mainly it's Tuesday nights. Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Central Time is Riding Through the Unknown, my disclosure esoteric series. And Thursday afternoons, when our schedules work, Kel, E, and I will do paranormal verses twice a month. We try to do, and with personal stuff going on, we're kind of on hiatus right now, and so we're hoping to be back either at the end of the year or starting next year. We're talking about what we're going to be doing, and then I was asked to join the Beast system, which is totally different from all my other shows. This one is a political conspiracy theory type show where we look at events that are going on in the world and we're like, what does this look like to us? And what wool are they trying to pull over our eyes and not make us see by the way they're presenting this? And what kind of will crack jokes like one instance was when we were watching the President Ford, I think it was President Ford funeral we recently had, where um, Brandon was walking across the stage, and I was like, we were watching as he went up there, and I said, "Oh my God, look, he actually walked up the stairs and made it." And that's what we would do is like kind of crack jokes like that and go, "Oh, look at somebody's wife is looking at this guy and they're not looking so happy about this person being there." And it's like, yeah, so it's like we kind of point like, some stuff out that we think people may not be paying attention to and being like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, somebody just got told something because they're not happy.
Yeah. That sounds really
But yeah,
cool.
and we did an episode on the KFC commercials that they had at one
Oh,
point.
that was so weird, that recent KFC commercial.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
We were having so much fun with that because we were like, everybody remember that movie from the 70s, Soylent Green?
No, I don't
Doesn't
remember the
this
movie,
kind
but
of follow that pattern? And
wow.
we're like,
Yeah, what were they doing with that KFC commercial? Like dipping the people in the gravy or something. It was so weird.
yeah. And we're like, That, yeah, we were like, this is so dark and twisted, and we're like,
Yeah.
I think they're trying to make us cannibals, and we're not buying it. And
No.
I was like, I actually, truth be told, every once in a while I would stop at KFC to get some
Yeah.
nuggets or chicken strips or something. But
Yeah.
after that commercial came out and the one before it, where everybody looked like they were drugged and became drones, I was
I
like,
don't
I
think I
won't
saw
step
that one
foot.
out here, but I definitely saw the one where everyone was like homage to
Yeah.
the KFC gravy and all
Well,
that.
after
Yeah.
seeing that, I was like, I'm not eating at KFC ever
Yeah.
again.
My son
It's like,
loves KFC. He absolutely loves it. So that's his treat. But I'm not really into, I love Chinese food, basically. Yeah, I
oh
love
yeah,
Asian
Chinese
food.
food is good.
Yeah, I love Asian food the best. So, you've got a website? Have you still got a website going up?
I do, and the
Yeah.
funny story about the website is when I was creating the domain name, I didn't know I was creating the domain name. I thought I was putting in
That's why it's
tag
so long.
words.
Yeah.
And so I put in the tag words Michael Kopf, paranormal investigator, and podcaster, because I thought I was doing like the description tag words.
Yeah.
And the next thing I know, as I hit enter to do the next step, and it goes, your domain name is now Michael Kopf, paranormal investigator, and podcaster.com. And I was like, that is not what I meant. And they wanted to charge me to change it. And I was like, nope, we're
Yeah,
just going
no,
to leave
it's
it.
fine. It's fine. Mine is just AnchorHaven, anchorhaven.co.uk. That's it. Small, short. I'd like it to be short if I could. Yours is dead long, but yes, you're
Yeah.
easily findable. Yeah, I found you. I found you online there. This is so good.
Well, and I
Yeah.
was laughing with someone going, when people go to hack websites, I'm like, they're like, your website name is so long, they're probably gonna like bypass it and be like, we're not messing with this. This is
Yeah.
too long.
Just trying to
Move
type that
along.
in, like,
We're not spoofing this account. Just move along. It's too
yeah,
long. And I was like,
too
yeah,
long.
hopefully that's true.
Probably. Well, this has been so lovely. Thank you for joining me. And we've
Yes.
covered so many different topics this evening, so it's been brilliant. I'd love to spend some time with you again. To be honest, I would. It'd be great.
I'll happily come back on.